Yet it infuriated ulama to such violence that they would not sit in peace until Ahmadi homes were burnt with Ahmadis preferably within them, and their properties were looted and they were completely destroyed and always jeered and mocked at. This has resulted into this violence which you are referring to. Now why? If you ask them, the answer will always be they don't believe in holy war. So they should be given a taste of what holy war is, you know. There is no logic in this. But why are they so much afraid? Because all their attempts to arrest the passage of Ahmadiyyat have miserably failed for them. All their efforts have resulted into greater interest in Ahmadiyyat on the part of the public. And in fact, even after every such hostile movement, Ahmadiyyat has grown bigger than before. But they face a dilemma. If they leave Ahmadiyyat alone, it would spread. If they encounter it with hostility and cruelty, it would further spread. What can they do? In this situation, you begin to understand a very extremely wise observation of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, better than ever before. He said, I am the cornerstone. Whomsoever I will fall, I'll break him. Whosoever falls upon me will be broken. So this is the dilemma of the enemies of truth. Whatever they do, it turns against them ultimately, but to attempt to suppress truth more violently gives them perhaps a sort of vicious satisfaction which they cannot enjoy by peacefully accepting the spread of truth. So this is a futile effort, but it is always done, carried out in the same style, same spirit throughout the religious history. Any other question? Yes, please. I wish a cordless microphone could be made available so that somebody could reach the guests instead of, putting them through the trouble of always walking up to the microphone. Where are those who have managed things here? Huh?
Just wanted to be in charge.
You see, time is quite advanced. Why are you still living in 10 years past? Yes, please.
As I visited to Islamabad today for the very first time and knowing very little about the Ahmadi religion, I was most impressed when I went to your book display and on the wall noticing the map that you have of missionaries all over the world. I just wondered how you organize the missions, if they were like Christian missions, if they go out, or if there are missions through friends, as I can see here today, or through the mosques, that they may go out like other religions do, to homes and to people. I wonder if you could give me an answer to that question.
Of course.
Could I just ask you another one too?
Yes, please.
The bookstore, of course, has an enormous fund of books, as I can see, in every language in the world. And where would they possibly be able to be bought apart, perhaps from here? Would they go through a normal bookstore, a religious shop, or would you get them through a mosque or an agent?
Always, everything you have suggested is being pursued by the community, and we make our best efforts to make our books available in the normal stores, in specialized religious shops, and we also go to publication houses and try to convince them to take over the book at a large commission and then spread it as best as they possibly can for the sake of the money involved. And also we sell directly. And if somebody is still not interested, we even give free of cost.
That's good.
Because that is the ultimate goal of all efforts. That somebody somehow should read the message
That's correct.
The way
yes.
we want to deliver.
That's right.
Okay. And the first question was,
Mission work.
yes, mission work. You know, Ahmadiyya community should be best understood in one single claim of the Ahmadiyya community, that the founder of the Ahmadiyya community is the promised Messiah. The Messiah who was promised to the latter days. This is the meaning of this term.
Yes, I understand the term.
But when you begin to understand it from Christian vantage point, your understanding will slightly differ, or sometimes considerably differ, from the understanding of a Muslim who believes in the same term slightly differently, or sometimes very powerfully, visibly differently. The Christians believe that the promised Messiah means a revisit by the same Christ who lived around 2000 years ago, a revisit from the heaven in the same person. The Muslims also believe in almost the same thing. They believe that Christ would revisit the earth in person, the same Christ who was attempted to be crucified. I'll explain why I'm spending some time on these differences. I'll come to your question in the end. Now, the Muslims differ after this agreement. And the difference is different with Christians after this part of agreement. They say, of course, Jesus Christ would revisit the earth himself. But this time when he comes, he would have become a Muslim. So he would land not in a Christian country, but in some Muslim country. It is like expecting a plane to land in some runway while it appears in some other or even a different airport. So this is just an explanation, an illustration of expectations. They do believe that Jesus would descend bodily in some Muslim country, declare to the world that he has got converted to Islam, and then his first enemies would be Christians, whom he would undertake to turn to Muslims. So although there is a very strong agreement in the beginning, the disagreement is almost as powerful. The Ahmadiyya understanding is neither here nor there. It's a completely different attitude. We believe that when those founders of religion or other holy people before us are referred to as going to come again, going to visit the world again, we find this mentioned in almost every part of the world, in almost every religion. There are scores of people who have been reported to have ascended to heaven, and with a promise to descend again. If they are right, the claimants, that they bodily ascended to heaven, so far they have been positively proved to be wrong regarding their bodily descent. None has descended so far bodily. So were they false people? Were the stories about them just legends? Where is the truth? The truth can only be understood with reference to an observation of Jesus Christ regarding such an issue. It was said in the Old Testament that Elijah or Elia ascended to heaven bodily sitting on his chariot. There was no confusion about that. And as such, he would revisit the earth again, sitting on the same chariot in the same body, before the coming of Christ. Until this happens, Christ would not come, because he would declare to the world that the days of Christ have come close, so open up your hearts and be ready to receive him. Now, when Jesus Christ did appear as true Christ from God, this was the joke of the town against Christians. They started jeering them and joking about this prophecy of the Old Testament, and they said, do you believe in the scriptures or not? This is the question. If you believe